Assalamu alaikum, man, to the library Katu. Remember this book right here. Inshallah, mashallah. I think we've been reading too many novels and watching too many movies and TV shows and stuff like that. You know what I mean? This might take about Falgoon, Ralo, you know what I mean, man, Aki, John Doe, or whatever the case may be, man. Just Nasiha and overall, man. Y'all can look the hadiths up. Go to the Sahih al-Bukhari and read the tafsir on certain stuff like that, man. I just say this, man. Oh yeah, one more time, man. This book right here, these type books we need to be reading and stuff like that. Get educated though. It's got the Deen in there. It got the Egyptian, like a lot of histories and stuff like that, a lot of definitions and stuff like that. Next video, I'm gonna be reading like pages and stuff like that. Like this, what you wanna see the kids read. You want them to read this type of stuff like that, so they can be more in tune of what's going on or whatever the case may be, man. But hey, man, the IKEA still here though. Don't get it fucked up. We still out here a million deep, a billion deep. We still slime for each other. We still looking out for each other and stuff like that, man. I just want to say this on my opinion. You can't mix the Deen with the Dunya and stuff like that. You can't mix the street stuff you can't mix the gangster stuff and all that with the Deen and stuff like that. You can gain the whole world and lose your soul type stuff. You can get all the popularity. You can get all the juice and stuff like that. Cause I got a lot of homeboys, you know what I mean, that been locked up. But before they got locked up, they was on the street. They were known for busting niggas, quote unquote, allegedly killing niggas and doing all that. These niggas had big juice and shit like that. And then when you get locked up, it's on a very few percentage of people that can be the same way how they was where they was on the street while they was in prison and shit like that. Cause no guns in there, you can't run and shit like that. Niggas know what you about. Niggas know if you told or not. Niggas know exactly where you locked up for or not like that. You know what I mean? And I just say this, man. This whole situation is crazy like that, man. I just say this, man. You can't. Allah is not to be mocked, and you supposed to hide your brother fault or whatever the case may be, man. I feel where the brother coming from too, though. He said he been out there with picket signs and shit like that, going hard in the rain, being out there and stuff like that. And this came to a float. This came to float. This came to shore or whatever the case may be. I've been in Pakistan like since 2017, but I was just getting out and shit like that. I've been in Megan State, Waycross. I've been all that. I've been to all that type of stuff like that. You know what I mean? I know as Muslims, you know what I mean? It's like everybody when you locked up, especially for a high profile case, and you facing time and it's your first time going in there and shit like that, you know what I mean? If you got a family, a mom, or dad, or either one, you know what I mean? A lot of people like from juvenile and shit like that. When we was in juvenile, I know a lot of brothers and sisters and shit like that. They ain't know they mom, they dad and shit like that. So they had to run the streets because they had to feed their little siblings and stuff like that. They had to feed their little baby brother or their brother, sisters, cousins, or whatever the case like that. Cause mom locked up, dad locked up for all type of shit. So they ain't have no choice but to be in the streets, breaking in houses, breaking in cars, you know what I mean, taking little hits, breaking in stores, doing all that shit. A lot of people from the suburbs and shit just had a choice to do. They just did that shit because they thought it was cool and shit like that, man. I just want to say this like this, man. Hide your brother faults or whatever the case may be, man. I felt like they should have stayed in the Umar you know what I mean, or whatever the case may be, instead of being on full blast. And I don't know the ins and depths of the situation and stuff like that. Because when I was running in Pakistan and stuff like that, you know, we was praying, you know what I mean? We was giving sadaqah. We had the Bailamar. We were going to Jumar. You know what I mean? It was a Umar and stuff like that going on. But Allah is not to be mocked. You can't play with Allah and stuff like that. You know, niggas need to figure out if you want to be a mob boss, a mafia boss, or, you know what I mean, you do the deen according to how it go. You know what I mean? But I don't even want to know the in-depths and stuff like that, because, you know, I don't learn my lesson about hanging with a group of niggas, a bunch of niggas and shit like that. You know you're going to goddamn, it's going to be like a domino effect or shit like that. You know what I mean? The case may be like that, man. You know, inshallah, man, I ain't turned no key over to the kufars and stuff, which is the government getting you locked up, feeding you slop. Cause when you locked up, you don't know what the fuck you eating and shit like that, man. They shanking all that old shit there. We don't know what the fuck they live. And matter of fact, I ain't never worked in the kitchen and shit. I would cut hair and shit like that. You know, I finesse with the women and shit like that in prison and shit like that. But a lot of brothers and a lot of people told me when they had the boxes and shit, they shit was saying not for human consumption and shit, and they still feed us and shit like that. But everybody, unless you just a cold-blooded demon and shit like that, and then eventually, you know, took your shahada, you know, Christianity, all that stuff really the same and stuff like that, though. It's on the thin line between Christianity and Islam and stuff like that. You feel what I'm saying? So everybody done said they prayer and told Allah while they was in that holding cell that they would never do it again, and this, that, and third. They'll never do this again. You know what I mean? But inshallah, I don't even want to know the inside depths of what happened and stuff like that. So nothing surprised nobody. You feel what I'm saying? I just say this for the youngest, especially the young kids, man, they're just growing up in the game and stuff like that. Don't mix Islam with the motherfucking the street shit, the gangster shit, the mafia shit, the mob shit, and all that old shit like that. If you're gonna be a Muslim or mu'min, you know, try to be it the best way you is. You know what I mean? And then sometimes it ain't good. I know a lot of shit about a lot of motherfuckers and shit like that, but it ain't on me to expose that shit, to be putting all that shit out there like that. Like, what the fuck I'm gonna get out of that shit like that? I don't even like putting people on blast. I don't like doing all that shit, like the whole world and all shit like that. That shit really should have stayed within the Ummah or whatever the case may be. I don't even want to know the depths and shit like that. Should nothing surprise you about nobody, no individual, no human being that's on this earth. And